In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey through the best album of each year, from 2000 to 2023, in my personal opinion. Remember, music is subjective. Let's get started. The Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem. The year 2000 was a great year for hip-hop. The best one of all the albums that dropped that year was Eminem's second studio album, The Marshall Mathers LP. It was produced by the unbeatable duo Dr. Dre and Eminem. It has very dark songs like Kim, Stan, and Amityville, but it also had some bangers like The Real Slim Shady and The Way I Am. It was a huge commercial success, selling over 1.7 million copies in its first week. It has sold over 35 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling albums of all time. It has also been certified diamond by the RIAA. The album was also liked by the critics, scoring a 78 out of 100 on Metacritic. Songs in A minor by Alicia Keys. It is Alicia's debut studio album released on June 5, 2001. She wrote, arranged, and produced most of the album herself. It is a neo-soul and R&B classic, primarily driven by the Keys. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 236,000 copies in its first week, and ended 2001 as the best-selling album of the year in the US. It is Alicia's best album, scoring a 78 out of 100 on Metacritic. After the success of the album, Alicia won 5 Grammy Awards in 2002, including Best New Artist, Best R&B Album, Best R&B Song, Best Female R&B Vocal Performance, and Song of the Year for Fallen. Let Go by Abra LaVine. The best album of 2002 was the pop rock classic and Abra LaVine's debut studio album Let Go. When the album was released, Abra was just 17 years old. It was one of the best-selling albums of 2002. Selling 4.1 million units in the US. It has now sold over 20 million copies worldwide. The album received mostly positive reviews from critics, scoring a 68 out of 100 on Metacritic. In the Zone by Britney Spears. It was released on November 18, 2003, as the fourth studio album by Britney Spears. It has a more mature sound from Britney's earlier albums. It is a pop and dance album, with elements of hip-hop and R&B. When it was released, it debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 609,000 copies. The big hit from the album has stood the test of time, as Toxic has more than 1 billion streams on Spotify. In my opinion, it is Britney's best album, and it has a score of 66 out of 100 on Metacritic. The College Dropout by Kanye West. For 2004, the undisputed best album is the classic The College Dropout. The album is full of classic songs like Through the Wire, All Falls Down, and Jesus Walks. I first listened to this album in my freshman year in college, and it made me want to drop out right then and there. The album is a highly rated album by the critics, scoring an 87 out of 100 on Metacritic. Kanye won 3 Grammy Awards in 2005, including Best Rap Album for The College Dropout.
I guess we'll never know.
Confessions on a Dance Floor by Madonna. Madonna is known for reinventing her sound on each album, but for Confessions on a Dance Floor, she returned to her roots and made a pure dance album. The album is structured to be played all the way through on a DJ set. The album sold over 3.6 million copies worldwide during its first week of release and was the 6th best-selling album of 2005, even though it was released at the end of the year. It received rave reviews from critics, scoring an 80 out of 100 on Metacritic. Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. Back to Black was the second and final album by Amy Winehouse from her very successful but short career. R.I.P. It's a soul and R&B album with elements of blues and jazz. It has sold over 16 million copies worldwide and has been certified 8 times platinum in Europe. As for the critics, the album scored 81 out of 100 on Metacritic. It won 5 Grammy Awards in 2008, including Best Pop Vocal Album, Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Female Pop Vocal Performance, and Best New Artist for Amy Winehouse. In Rainbows by Radiohead. It was released on October 10, 2007 by Radiohead themselves as a pay-what-you-want download on their website. It is an alternative and experimental album with elements of rock, pop, folk, funk, and electronica. It is one of the most critically acclaimed albums of all time, getting an 88 out of 100 on Metacritic. Even with its unusual release, it has been certified gold by the RIAA. The album won 2 Grammy Awards in 2009, including one for Best Alternative Music Album. I Am Sasha Fierce by Beyonce. I Am Sasha Fierce showcases Beyonce's two different personalities and alter egos. It has some of Beyonce's best songs, like Hello and If I Were a Boy. Sweet Dreams is my favorite song from the album. It got a lukewarm reception from the critics, scoring a 62 out of 100 on Metacritic. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 482,000 copies. It has now sold over 10 million copies worldwide. The album won 6 Grammy Awards in 2010, including Song of the Year for Single Ladies. The Fame Monster by Lady Gaga. The Fame Monster is the reissue of Lady Gaga's debut studio album, The Fame. It has some of Lady Gaga's best songs ever, like Bad Romance, Alejandro, and Dance in the Dark. It was one of the best-selling albums of 2009, and has now been certified 5 times platinum by the RIAA. The critics loved the album, giving it a score of 78 out of 100 on Metacritic. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. Kanye West delivered his defining album with his 5th project, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, in 2010. It was his comeback album after the 2009 Taylor Swift VMA incident. He pulled out all the stops for the album, like with the song All of the Lights, which featured more than 22 of the biggest singers on it. It is one of the most critically acclaimed albums of all time, receiving a score of 94 out of 100 on Metacritic. It has been ranked as one of the best albums of the 2010s by multiple publications. 21 by Adele. 21 is Adele's breakthrough sophomore album, released on January 23, 2011. The album contains some of Adele's best songs, like Rolling in the Deep, Someone Like You, and Set Fire to the Rain. It is the best-selling album of the 2010s, with more than 30 million records sold worldwide. It is also critically acclaimed, with a score of 76 out of 100 on Metacritic. The album won 6 Grammys in 2012, including Album of the Year, Best Pop Vocal Album, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year for Rolling in the Deep. Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. It tells the story of how it was like to grow up a good kid in a mad city, Compton, California. It is one of the best concept albums of all time. It is highly rated by the critics, scoring a 91 out of 100 on Metacritic. The album has stood the test of time, and is still at number 55 on the Billboard 200, spending its 572nd week on the chart. It has now been certified 3 times platinum by the RIAA. Nothing Was the Same by Drake. Some people might argue Take Care, or if you're reading this, it's too late. But for me, this is Drake's best album. It has some of Drake's most personal songs, like Too Much and From Time. It just puts you in a mood. As for the critics, it has a score of 79 out of 100 on Metacritic. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 658,000 copies. It has now been certified 4 times platinum by the RIAA. 1989 by Taylor Swift. The title of the album refers to Taylor's birth year and the music of the 1980s that influenced her. It has some of Taylor's biggest songs ever, like Shake It Off and Blank Space, which are both certified diamond. 1989 received widespread acclaim from critics, scoring a 76 out of 100 on Metacritic. It debuted at the top of the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 1.2 million copies, and it has now been certified 9 times platinum by the RIAA. Purpose by Justin Bieber. Purpose was released on November 13, 2015 as Justin Bieber's redemption album from his controversies from the early 2010s. This is my favorite Justin Bieber album. The album has 3 number 1 singles, What Do You Mean, Sorry, and Love Yourself, with Sorry and Love Yourself ending 2016 as the top 2 biggest songs of the year. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 649,000 units. It has now been certified 6 times platinum by the RIAA. It has positive reviews from critics, scoring a 63 out of 100 on Metacritic. Anti by Rihanna. Anti is Rihanna's best album, released in 2016. The album incorporates a lot of genres, including alternative R&B, pop, and dancehall. It just sounds better than every album I've ever listened to. It contains some of Rihanna's best songs, like Love on the Brain and Kiss It Better. It sold over 1 million copies worldwide in 2016. and has been certified 6 times platinum by the RIAA. It is a critically acclaimed album with a score of 73 out of 100 on Metacritic. Melodrama by Lorde. Melodrama was released on June 16, 2017 as Lorde's second studio album. It is one of the best pop albums of the 2010s. It received critical acclaim, scoring a 91 out of 100 on Metacritic. It was not just an artsy underground album. It sold pretty well, having been certified gold by the RIAA. Astroworld by Travis Scott. Astroworld is a psychedelic trap classic by Travis Scott, released on August 3, 2018. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 537,000 units. It was loved by critics, scoring an 85 out of 100 on Metacritic, and it has now been certified 4 times platinum by the RIAA. Thank You Next by Ariana Grande. Thank You Next was Ariana's 5th studio album, released on February 8, 2019. The album was preceded by 2 singles, Thank You Next and 7 Rings, both of which debuted on number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It is my favorite Ariana Grande album. It was critically acclaimed, scoring 86 out of 100 on Metacritic. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with first week sales of 360,000 units, and it has now been certified 2 times platinum by the RIAA. Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. Future Nostalgia is the second studio album by Dua Lipa, released on March 27, 2020. It is a futuristic twist on the sound of the 1980s. The album is just banger after banger. It is one of the best albums to come out of the pandemic era. It was loved by the critics, scoring an 88 out of 100 on Metacritic. According to the IFPI, it ended 2020 with 3.3 million units sold worldwide. The album is currently the 6th most streamed album of all time on Spotify, with over 11.3 billion streams. Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. Sour was the breakout debut album by Olivia Rodrigo, released on May 21, 2021. It went on a more pop-punk direction, bringing that genre back to relevance. It was critically acclaimed, scoring at 83 out of 100 on Metacritic. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 295,000 album equivalent units. It has now been certified 4 times platinum by the RIAA. Midnights by Taylor Swift. Midnights is Taylor's 10th studio album, released on October 21, 2022. It was inspired by Taylor's 13 Sleepless Nights. It is one of the highest rated albums of the 2020s, scoring at 85 out of 100 on Metacritic. When it was released, it broke Spotify. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 1.5 million units sold in its first week, and finished 2022 with 3.2 million units sold in the US. Let's Start Here by Lil Yachty. And for 2023, the biggest surprise of the year was Lil Yachty's Let's Start Here, released on January 27, 2023. It was a huge departure from his usual sound, as it is a psychedelic rock album reminiscent of Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. It was positively received by the critics, scoring a 73 out of 100. I'm still surprised that this is my favorite album of 2023 so far.